We're on our way to the location of the cemetery for the John Lewis, and it's this road right here that we go down. Yeah, we'd never found this road.
I thought your wife said 100 feet.
I think it's a little more than 100 yards, don't you?
Yeah, we can pass that point.
Does this look like it through there?
Just poison oak and watch the step.
Okay. This is the John Lewis Cemetery. I got a lot of work to do if I clean this thing up, don't I? Oh, what's that sign say?
I told you about.
Yeah, hold that up, Mr. Majors. Let me get that. We now have the results, and there is the John Lewis crest, as pictured in the book. Like I said, I'm going to come down here and help clean this place up some, because I know a lot of people are going to want to see it. You want to get a picture too?
Go ahead. I'm still setting up.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Oh boy, not much light in here.
It's my interest to found some stones, and we certainly look.
Hold that sign up for me. Let me get a picture of you with that sign, please, Mr. Moore. Jim, thank you. That's great. Okay, now I have to, that limb's in the way. I have to take a moment to focus, because this is not a,
Well, you tell me when you're ready.
Okay, I'll tell you when I'm ready.
My arm gets tired.
All right. There's supposed to be 5 generations in this cemetery. Now this tombstone over here is actually the John Lewis tombstone. That other one there is his wife. And there you can see part of the family crest is broken off at the top.
You want to get where I am? Or?
No, I've got it. I got it. No, don't take it. Don't let me get in your way.
Oh,
Now that's his wife's tombstone, isn't it?
that's Isabel.
Isabel. That's his wife. Now, was she the wife of John Jr. or William?
Get back to the car and tell you real quick.
Okay.
I've given up trying to.
Again, so.
I get the same questions over and over.
Yeah.
Unless I read up on it, study it like I did the Claiborne family.
Yeah, that's what I said. I read that a couple of years ago. You got what I said.
Here's I think this is a William Lewis tombstone here, broken. So say that again.
This area had no stones in the area, and there were no stone cutters. When someone died and they wanted a tombstone, they had to send the orders back to England for them. It took 3 months for the ship to go over, and about a year for the stone to be cut, and then you come back on the next ship, if the ships made it.
And that was a very expensive process too, wasn't
it? You had to have money to have tombstone. When I first came into this graveyard, it was around 1950, and this was in a little grove of trees, and it was a field that ran all the way around the graveyard. And my father and George King felt that the house site was in that direction up on a little knoll, but didn't go over to look for evidence because there was no purpose in it.
How far was that knoll?
Well, it would have been, in remembering, about 25 yards. Graveyards weren't but about 25 yards from the house. They were usually in the garden beside the house. People died then, they buried them in the yard. They didn't go to the church either. Didn't have time. up to Shackford in this broke room. Baptist church up at where you go to the courthouse.
Right.
That church on the right.
And one
It was
Reverend
brick
Gow's
now,
got,
but
you know.
it was framed some years back.
Jim, how did your father learn of this cemetery?
He learned of it through his old friend and neighbor, R. Tyler Bland, who died just a few years ago at 96 years of age. Tyler Bland was raised just down the road here towards Gresham, just a few miles. He was over here playing when he was a boy. And when he found out my father was looking for old graveyards, one day he stopped in and told him, said, "You want to see an old graveyard? Go down there." And he said, "Well, take me." He said they came that day.
I came that day.
Yeah, when he smelled a hot spot like that, he look at it. Business and everything was set aside.
Okay, this would have then been the original, on the original 250 acres that John Lewis got from the Crown, right?
This is what my father determined, yes.
Okay. Now, Robert E. Lee's ancestors.
Richard Lee owned a place across Route 14, the road going to Adna, and it's called Paradise. And he got a grant to that in 1848. And this grant, the first one was about 1853, if I recall. It was Gloucester County at the time. And it became New Kent County in 1854.
And this is New Kent County?
No, it's King and Queen now.
It's King and Queen County now, but it was originally Gloucester County.
Originally it was Gloucester for 1 year, and then it became New Kent, and then in 1691 it became King and Queen County.
Okay. Where, you were telling me about the Lewis Mill Pond. Where would it be from here?
It's right at the Gloucester line on State Route 14, about 100 yards above the highway.
About how far would that be from here?
We go back out the road we came in on, about half a mile, straight line.
Okay.
The creek is over here to the south of us. This would be south, and this would be north.
Yeah, it's right over there.
Mr. Major, have you ever seen the Mill Pond Dam?
The Haynes Mill Pond?
No, the Lewis.
The Lewis Mill Pond? Yeah, the pond, I think it was, I can't remember what it was. I know we have a pond back here, but I don't know if it's the original one.
That's a new one.
I think the original pond was set up back here, and it was drained back to this one here, according to Mr. John Hill.
Well, my father, if you go down Route 14 and down where the bridge crosses,
right,
there's a sign there talking about John Lewis.
Right.
Above that, to the east, going towards Saluda, there's a dam, earthen dam. It's washed out now, but that was what my father said was a Lewis pond. Grist mill was there.
Right.
And when Bacon had his rebellion, he raided this area, and he evidently took all of John Lewis's grain and what have you. Nathaniel Bacon died right across the creek, though.
Didn't they bury it somewhere back in here?
Well, there's several stories, but the story that I've always heard, they wrapped him in chains and threw him in the York River so Governor Berkeley wouldn't find his body.
Couldn't get his body?
Really?
Yeah.
But Berkeley hated him with a passion.
Oh, really?
See, he burned Jamestown.
Yeah.
And he went up against direct orders from the Crown and got his own raiding party and went out and killed every Indian he could find. And his headquarters was at West Point.
And we know that in history as the Bacon Rebellion, don't
That's
we?
right. It was 100 years before the Revolution. Exactly.
I've heard of that.
And Bacon lived in Richmond, in Riker County at the time. And he had a quarter up in Richmond, and his man that ran the farm out there was killed by an Indian. And he went down and told Berkeley that he said he wanted an army, and Berkeley said no. He said, "I'll take care of this matter. You don't do that." So Berkeley went back and raised his own army. Well, the people over here in King and Queen, New Kent, were pressed up against the Pamunkeys, and they all got together and said, "We'll have an army." And they went down through Southside Virginia, and then anywhere they could find Indian towns, they raided them and slaughtered the Indians. And then they went back to Jamestown, and Berkeley jumped over there and ran over to the Eastern Shore and stayed with his friend John Custis at Arlington. And Bacon was making his way on back up here. It didn't last long, but maybe 6 or 8 months when he died. And most of the men that were supporting him, his lieutenants, were all hung at West Point. They had a hanging tree in West Point where they...
Was this a part of the the fight in England between Cromwell and the Crown?
Had nothing to do with that.
It had nothing to do with that.
No, see, Cromwell was out by 1660.
Oh,
He
okay.
died.
Yeah.
And Charles II came back, and this was 1676.
Oh, okay. So he was trying to free the land up from the Indians, basically.
Well, he was just upset, and so were the ones on the frontier of these attacks from the Indians all the time.
right.
They weren't going to sit there and take that.
Yeah, right.
When they took it in their own hands, it was a posse move.
Well, we fought the Indians for another 200 years, you know.
One of his lieutenants, when Berkeley came up the York River with his army, he took off in a blinding snowstorm heading west, and they never saw him again. A fellow named Lawrence. Never saw him again. And one of his commanders was a fellow named Gooch, and he begged mercy, got down on his knees, and Berkeley let him off the hook. But there was one up here named Arnold up in the other end of King and Queen. He hung him right there in West Point, hung him in chains.
Well, before I run out of film and run out of power, I want to thank Jim Harris, whose father discovered and wrote about this cemetery, for starting me on the journey and bringing me over here to find it. And Mr. Major, who actually led us to the cemetery through the woods and the grass and the like.
Oh, I'm sure y'all would have found it with no problem.
And Mr. Major, we really appreciate your bringing us and showing the Lewis descendants who are going to see this film in October in Arkansas. We thank you very much for your help.
No problem. Come on down.
By the way, Mrs. Moses, I'll be making her a copy of this tape. So if you want to say something to Ms. Moses, I
don't know her.
You don't know her? Okay. Well, she's going to see you because she wants. I told her I'd make her a copy of this tape. Did you say that Lewis's dam is right up the creek this way?
You'd be upset, isn't that?
So that's the Lewis Mill Pond Dam right here.
Right on the upper side of this road.
And the old road used to come right through there then?
Yeah, before they built this super highway here.
Uh-huh.
They came through that.
Okay.
Because back in before 1920 or 30.
Uh-huh. But
I think it was 30. Bridge was wrecked in 1954. It was probably a bridge before it.
uh-huh.
Appahannock Highway.
Well, you say the tide comes all the way up here to this bridge.
Oh yeah,
So it would have come up to this dam.
that's right. But it wasn't a tidal. Gloucester County was tidal dam.
Uh-huh.
Water come in and run the wheel going in, and then when it ran out, it would run the wheel back the other way. That's what I was telling you. I think that date 1648, that Lee, Richard Lee. When you get that book, you have it all in there anyway.
Yeah. Come on, focus. There we go. Come on, get focused. That's Warner Hall, private property. That's the Warner Hall Cemetery. This is Warner Hall, John the Counselor home. This has been restored.